The 10th labor, an impossible task. King Eurystheus smirked, pleased with himself. He had just devised what he believed to be the most impossible task yet for Heracles. "Fetch me the cattle of Geryon," he declared, his voice dripping with malice. Heracles, despite his immense strength and courage, felt a shiver run down his spine. Geryon was no ordinary rancher. He was a monstrous giant with 3 heads and 3 bodies who dwelt on the remote island of Erythea. This island lay far to the west, beyond the bounds of the known world, where the sun dipped into the endless ocean. The journey itself would be perilous, fraught with unknown dangers, but to steal the cattle of a monster guarded by a 2-headed hound and a fierce herdsman, that seemed like the height of madness. Yet Heracles was a hero bound by his word. He had already completed 9 seemingly impossible labors. He would not falter now. He would face this challenge head-on with his usual mix of strength, cunning, and a prayer to the gods for their favor. His quest began with a journey across parched deserts and scorching plains. The sun beat down relentlessly, baking the earth and testing Heracles' legendary stamina. He crossed treacherous mountain ranges, their peaks shrouded in mist and their paths fraught with hidden crevices. He battled fierce tribes of barbarians, their eyes gleaming with greed for the spoils they imagined a lone traveler might carry. But Heracles, with his trusty club and arrows dipped in the Hydra's venom, proved a formidable opponent. He arrived at the Straits of Gibraltar, the gateway to the Western Ocean. Legend claimed that this was the edge of the world, beyond which lay only uncharted waters and mythical monsters. There, he encountered another obstacle: the towering Pillars of Hercules. These mighty rocks, said to have been split by Heracles himself, guarded the entrance to the ocean beyond. With Athena's guidance, Heracles reached the shores of Erythea, the air thick with the scent of salt and sea. The island shimmered under the crimson gaze of the setting sun, a land both beautiful and menacing. But before he could even set foot on the island, he was confronted by the first of Geryon's formidable guardians, Orthrus, the 2-headed hound of Hades. This monstrous beast, with its deafening barks and venomous fangs, lunged at Heracles, eager to tear him limb from limb. Heracles, wielding his club with deadly accuracy, struck Orthrus down, but before he could catch his breath, Eurytion, Geryon's herdsman, charged at him. Eurytion, a giant of a man with the strength of a wild bull, swung his axe with fury. A fierce battle ensued, the ground trembling under their mighty blows, but Heracles, drawing upon his superhuman strength, eventually prevailed. He brought his club crashing down on Eurytion's skull, silencing the giant forever. The earth trembled as Geryon, alerted by the commotion, emerged from his lair. He was a terrifying sight. 3 powerful bodies joined at the waist, each head bearing a fierce visage crowned with wild, tangled hair. Geryon roared, his 3 voices echoing across the island, accusing Heracles of trespassing and theft. He charged, a whirlwind of limbs and weapons, driving Heracles back with a furious assault. Arrows flew through the air, each tipped with the deadly poison of the Hydra. One by one they found their mark, blinding each of Geryon's eyes. The giant roared in pain and fury, flailing blindly, but Heracles, guided by Athena, dodged each clumsy attack. Finally, Heracles saw his chance. He leaped forward, his trusty club whistling through the air, and delivered a crushing blow to Geryon's side. The giant staggered, his 3 bodies collapsing upon each other like a felled oak. Section 5, Wrath of Hera and a River of Madness. With Geryon vanquished, Heracles gathered the cattle, a herd of magnificent red beasts with horns of gold. He set sail in the giant's magical cup, a gift from Helios, the sun god, grateful for Heracles' assistance in guiding his chariot across the sky. But his troubles were far from over. Hera, Zeus's wife, still enraged by Heracles' past transgressions, unleashed a fierce storm upon him. Waves crashed over the small vessel, threatening to dash it to pieces against the jagged rocks. Heracles, with the strength of a god flowing through his veins, managed to steer the boat through the tempestuous waters, but his trials were far from over. As he neared the mainland, he encountered another obstacle, the River of Madness. This treacherous river, its waters swirling with an unnatural energy, drove all who drank from it to madness. Heracles, parched and weary, almost succumbed to the temptation to quench his thirst. But remembering his mission, he resisted the lure of the river, pushing onward with his precious cargo. Section 6. The cattle drive through barbarian lands. The journey back to Mycenae was fraught with peril. Heracles, herding the unruly cattle across hostile lands, faced constant threats. Barbarian tribes, sensing the value of his prize, ambushed him at every turn. He fought off these attacks with his usual courage and ferocity, his club scattering his enemies like chaff before the wind. But the constant struggle was taking its toll, leaving him weary and longing for the end of his ordeal. He navigated treacherous mountain passes, the cattle slipping and sliding on the treacherous slopes. He guided them through dense forests, the air thick with the scent of pine and the sound of unseen creatures. His journey took him through the lands of the Ligurians, a tribe known for their cunning and thievery. The Ligurians, seeing the magnificent cattle, decided to steal them from Heracles, believing him to be weary from his travels. Section 7. Cacus the Cattle Thief. Among the Ligurians lived a fearsome giant named Cacus, who lived in a cave on the Aventine hill. He was a son of Hephaestus, the god of fire, and breathed smoke and fire from his nostrils. Cacus coveted Geryon's cattle and devised a plan to steal them. As Heracles slept, Cacus crept out of his lair and dragged the finest bulls away by their tails. Heracles, awakened by the lowing cattle, quickly realized he had been robbed. He followed the tracks to the cave of Cacus. Heracles challenged Cacus, demanding the return of his stolen cattle. The giant breathed fire, but Heracles ripped away the cave roof, exposing Cacus. A fierce battle ensued, ending with Heracles striking a fatal blow. He retrieved the cattle and continued his journey, hailed as the vanquisher of Cacus. Section 8. The Return to Mycenae. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Heracles reached Mycenae, the herd of Geryon's cattle trailing behind him. He had faced countless perils, overcome seemingly insurmountable obstacles, and emerged victorious, a testament to his strength, courage, and unwavering resolve. News of his arrival spread like wildfire. People lined the streets, eager to catch a glimpse of the hero who had returned from the edge of the world. They cheered his name, their voices echoing through the streets of the city. Heracles, despite his exhaustion, couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. He had done it. He had completed the 10th labor, proving once again that no task, no matter how daunting, could stand before him. Section 9. Victory and Vengeance. Heracles presented the cattle to Eurystheus, fulfilling the terms of his labor. The king, however, was far from pleased. He had hoped this task would be the one to break Heracles, to finally rid him of the hero who cast such a long shadow over his own meager accomplishments. Instead, Heracles stood before him, triumphant and more powerful than ever. It was a bitter pill for Eurystheus to swallow, but he had no choice but to acknowledge Heracles' victory. Heracles, however, had the last laugh. Instead of keeping the magnificent cattle for himself, he sacrificed them to Hera, the very goddess who had tormented him throughout his journey. It was a cunning move, both an act of appeasement and a subtle jab at Eurystheus. Hera, placated by the sacrifice, could do nothing but accept. Eurystheus, on the other hand, was left fuming, the prize he had so desperately wished to possess now beyond his grasp. Section 10. Onward to further glory. And so, the tale of Heracles' 10th labor came to an end, but his legend was far from over. 2 more labors awaited him, each more perilous than the last. Yet Heracles faced them all with the same unwavering courage, his name echoing through the ages as a symbol of strength, determination, and the indomitable human spirit. What new challenges await the hero on his path to redemption? What monsters will he slay? What feats of strength and cunning will he display? The stories continue, forever etched in the annals of Greek mythology.